2006. Jensen Huang made a decision that made no sense to anyone watching from outside. Nvidia was a gaming graphics card company. Profitable, growing, comfortable. Huang took a portion of his engineering team and told them to make Nvidia's chips programmable. Not just for graphics, but for any kind of parallel computation. He called the platform CUDA. Nobody asked for it. No customer demanded it. The gaming industry didn't need it. For 8 years, CUDA generated almost no revenue, and sat as a largely ignored side project inside a gaming hardware company. Then in 2012, a group of AI researchers at the University of Toronto used Nvidia CUDA chips to train a neural network. That changed everything. The AI revolution didn't start in Silicon Valley. It started on Nvidia gaming hardware that Jensen Huang had made programmable 8 years earlier, on a bet nobody understood. Today, that bet is worth $3 trillion. Jensen Huang was not a Silicon Valley native. He was not born into technology money. He was not the kind of founder whose path to a trillion-dollar company looks inevitable in hindsight. He was born in Tainan, Taiwan in 1963. His parents sent him and his brother to live with relatives in the United States when he was 9 years old, relatives they had never met. The plan was temporary. It became permanent. He spent part of his childhood at a boarding school in Kentucky, where he cleaned bathrooms and tables to cover expenses. He studied electrical engineering at Oregon State University, then completed a master's degree at Stanford. He went to work at AMD as a microprocessor designer, and then at LSI Logic. He was good at his job. He had a clear career path inside established companies. He walked away from all of it at 30. In 1993, Huang co-founded Nvidia with Chris Malachowski and Curtis Preem, two engineers he had met at Sun Microsystems, at a Denny's restaurant in San Jose. They drew the original company structure on a napkin. Their starting capital was $40,000. Their pitch to venture capitalists was that 3D graphics were the future of personal computing, and the existing chips couldn't handle what was coming. Most investors passed. Sequoia Capital eventually wrote a check. Nvidia was incorporated with a single bet that visual computing was about to become one of the most demanding technical challenges in the industry. 20 of the first 24 chip designs they built failed completely. Nvidia's first product, the NV1, launched in 1995. It was technically ambitious and commercially disastrous. The chip used a non-standard graphics approach that was incompatible with the direction the entire industry was moving. Microsoft's new DirectX standard made the NV1 irrelevant almost immediately after launch. Nvidia had spent most of its venture capital on a chip nobody could use. By 1996, the company had approximately 4 months of cash remaining. Huang made a decision that his own engineers called impossible. He told the team they had to design an entirely new chip from scratch in 6 months. Standard chip development timelines ran 18 months minimum. They did it in 5. The Riva 128 launched in 1997 and sold 1 million units in 4 months. It was fast, compatible, and priced correctly. Nvidia survived. Then went public in 1999, at $12 per share. The near-death experience of 1996 permanently shaped how Huang ran the company. He became obsessive about speed. About moving faster than any competitor, about shipping products before they were perfect, about never giving a rival the window that Microsoft's DirectX standard had given them in 1995. That obsession with speed would define every major decision Nvidia made for the next 30 years. By 2006, Nvidia had won the gaming graphics card market decisively. The GeForce series was the dominant gaming chip on Earth. Revenue was growing. The stock was performing. By every conventional measure, Huang should have stayed the course. He didn't. Huang had been watching something quietly developing in research labs and universities. Scientists running complex simulations, weather modeling, molecular biology, physics calculations, were hitting a wall. Traditional processors handled tasks sequentially, one calculation at a time, very fast. Graphics chips handled thousands of smaller calculations simultaneously. That was how they rendered complex visual scenes in real time. Huang realized that the parallel processing power inside Nvidia's gaming chips was exactly what scientific computing needed. Not for games. For everything else. In 2006, Nvidia launched CUDA, Compute Unified Device Architecture. It was a software platform that let developers program Nvidia's graphics chips for general-purpose computation. Scientists could now run simulations on gaming hardware that would have previously required supercomputers, costing millions of dollars. The gaming community didn't notice. The scientific community barely noticed. CUDA generated almost no meaningful revenue for years. Inside Nvidia, it was considered a long-term research investment, important but not urgent. Huang kept funding it anyway. Year after year. Version after version. While the rest of the company focused on gaming, he quietly built the infrastructure that would eventually power the most important technological shift of the 21st century. In 2012, University of Toronto PhD student, named Alex Krzyzewski, entered an annual image recognition competition, called ImageNet. His team, led by Professor Geoffrey Hinton, who would later win the Nobel Prize in Physics, trained a neural network called AlexNet, on Nvidia's CUDA chips. AlexNet didn't just win the competition. It shattered every previous record by a margin so large, that every other team in the competition immediately understood that something fundamental had changed. The error rate dropped from 26% to 15%. A gap that should have taken a decade of incremental improvement. The difference was Nvidia's CUDA chips. The parallel processing power that Huang had built for gaming was the only hardware capable of training neural networks at the scale AlexNet required. Every major AI lab in the world read that paper. Every one of them ordered Nvidia chips within months. Google ordered them. Facebook ordered them. Amazon ordered them. Every university AI research department ordered them. The demand arrived almost simultaneously from every direction at once. Nvidia had spent 6 years building a platform nobody wanted. In 2012, everybody wanted it at the same time. By 2016, Nvidia's data center revenue, driven entirely by AI demand, had become a significant portion of total revenue. By 2020, it had become the dominant portion. By 2023, it was generating more revenue in a single quarter than the entire company had generated in full years, just a decade earlier. The straight line from CUDA in 2006 to $3 trillion in 2024 hides two separate moments where Nvidia nearly collapsed entirely. 2009. The global financial crisis hit Nvidia at exactly the wrong moment. The company had just launched a new chip architecture that underperformed expectations. Revenue collapsed. The stock fell 80% from its peak. Huang cut costs, restructured divisions, and made a decision that defined his leadership style. He didn't cut research and development. Every other company in the industry slashed R&D to survive the downturn. Huang protected it. The engineers working on CUDA kept their jobs through the worst financial crisis in a generation. 2010. The cryptocurrency mining boom had created enormous demand for Nvidia's gaming chips. Miners used them to generate Bitcoin and Ethereum. Nvidia's revenue surged on crypto demand. Then the crypto market collapsed in late 2018. Revenue fell off a cliff. Nvidia had built too much inventory in anticipation of crypto demand that evaporated overnight. The stock dropped 50% in 3 months. Analysts questioned whether Nvidia had any growth path left. Both times, Huang held the same position. Protect the engineers, protect the research, survive the quarter, keep building. Both times the company emerged from the crisis in a stronger position than it entered. 2022. OpenAI launched ChatGPT. Within 5 days, it had 1 million users. Within 2 months, it had 100 million. The fastest growing consumer application in history. ChatGPT ran on Nvidia chips. Every AI model that followed ran on Nvidia chips. Every company that tried to build an AI product needed Nvidia chips to train it. The entire industry simultaneously discovered that the only hardware capable of training large language models at scale was sitting inside one company's data centers. Microsoft ordered $10 billion worth of Nvidia chips for its AI infrastructure. Google ordered millions more. Amazon, Meta, every major technology company on Earth was in the same position. They needed Nvidia hardware, and there was only one place to get it. Nvidia's revenue went from $27 billion in 2022 to $60 billion in 2023, to a projected $130 billion in 2024. The stock went from $140 in early 2023 to over $900 by mid-2024. The company crossed $1 trillion in market value in June 2023, then $2 trillion in February 2024, then $3 trillion in June 2024, becoming only the third company in history to reach that valuation, alongside Apple and Microsoft. Jensen Huang net worth crossed $100 billion. The man who cleaned bathrooms at a Kentucky boarding school as a child became one of the 10 wealthiest people on Earth. Chris Malachowski and Curtis Preem, the two co-founders, who sat with Jensen Huang at the Denny's in San Jose in 1993, are both still alive. Malachowski is worth approximately $6 billion. Preem left Nvidia years ago, and has donated the majority of his wealth to charity. Neither man is a household name. The company they built on a napkin at a Denny's is worth $3 trillion. 20 of Nvidia's first 24-chip designs failed. The 21st saved the company. The CUDA platform ran for 8 years with almost no revenue, before the world caught up to what it was. Two separate crises, 2009 and 2018, nearly ended the company, before the AI revolution arrived to validate everything Huang had built. Jensen Huang didn't predict artificial intelligence. He built infrastructure for a problem that didn't fully exist yet. Funded it through years when nobody wanted it, survived 2 near collapses without cutting the research that mattered, and was standing in exactly the right place when the world finally caught up. In 2006, he made a decision that made no sense to anyone watching from outside. He called it CUDA. 18 years later, every artificial intelligence system running on Earth depends on it. Every ChatGPT response, every AI-generated image, every self-driving car decision, every cancer detection algorithm, every weather prediction model, all of it runs on a bet a Taiwanese immigrant made at a Denny's in San Jose with $40,000, and 2 engineers nobody had heard of. That's the only origin story that matters.